Hi, sixth grade horn players, Mr. Y here, obviously. I got a request for a little help on the B flat concert scale sheet, the very first one we're doing this year. So I thought I'd put out a little video to all of you guys. If you aren't having any trouble with it, feel free to ignore me, of course. But if you do think you need a little extra help, this might be a good place to start. First thing you should know is that the B flat concert scale is the easiest scale for everybody in the band except for the horns. Just to let you guys know, if you have looked a little bit ahead and looked at actually the next page of the scale sheet, you can see that when we get to the G minor and then the F concert scale later on, they are quite a bit easier for you guys. It just so happens that the first one for everybody else, the B flat scale, is actually a really high scale for the horn. So if you're having a lot of trouble with the high notes right now at the very beginning of the year, don't sweat it. I mean, if you can't get them all, that's totally fine. Later on in the year, I'm sure we'll catch you up when we get there. Especially this year. I mean, it's been such a weird year in terms of practice and all that kind of thing. So if you're having trouble getting back into the swing of the high notes, especially, don't take it too seriously. I mean, if you can practice it and get it really good, that's great. But if you're really struggling, don't let yourself get frustrated. Okay, we are going to get to this stuff later on. I am going to take you through them all today, and if you can get them down, that's great. But like I said, don't sweat it. So for the first scale, number one here, we just have the half scale. Now this one doesn't actually get all that high because it only goes up to the high C, which, like I said, is about the high range of the horn usually. On number 2, 3, and 4, you guys do go a little bit higher. Actually, not on number 4, but on 2 and 3, you go a little bit higher. And I'll get to that in just a minute. First thing you need to be able to do on the horn always is be able to find that first note. I really recommend that as a horn player especially, you really need to trust your ear. And the way to really program your ears to do the right thing here is to sing the notes first. So if you can get that very first note in your head, that very first F right there, that's a pretty easy note to play usually. Actually, where I start on the horn usually is I can always get that low C, the C below the F in this one. That's a really easy note for me to find all the time. So if I'm having trouble finding my first note, say I was having trouble finding this first F here on number 1, I would start on that C and play up to it. I would go. Just to be able to find that first note, and then I like to sing them or hum them in my head or whatever like that. So the whole first scale is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you can sing it like that, that's going to make it a lot easier for your brain to be able to find the right notes. Okay, singing is kind of the way we program our brain for music. That's the way it is. Remember the key signature on this one too. You've also got a B flat in the key signature. So when you get to the B, remember it's not going to be B natural middle valve. It's going to be B flat first valve. Okay, so check it out. You've got F, F, then G, no valves, and then A first and second, and then B flat first valve, and then high C, and then back down to B flat, A, G, F, and that's the whole scale. Okay, should sound something like this. Okay, that's a pretty easy one actually. Probably the second easiest one for the horn, believe it or not, is number 4. Number 4 doesn't go up any higher than we just went. It goes up to the high C, but it's got these slurs and staccatos. So something like. And then. That's probably the second easiest one for the French horn, unless you're exceptionally good at high notes, and some people are good at high notes. I find myself pretty good at high notes on the horn, but not good at the low notes. Usually that's true for most everybody. You're either really good at high notes or really good at low notes at first, but not both. And then later on, as you practice more, of course, you get better at both. Let me show you number 2 a little bit. The trick about number 2 is that we've got the first 5 notes are the same as number 1, obviously. Those are pretty easy. The F, G, A, B flat, C to the first note in the second measure. After that, of course, you've got 3 notes in a row, actually, that are no fingers. Remember, the high C, when you start in the F, F, G, A, B flat, and then C. That C is no fingers on the horn, and also the next note, the D, is no fingers too, and the E is also no fingers. So you've got 3 notes in a row with no fingers. You have to do all the work with your airstream and your lips. Remember, as you go up the scale on the horn, as you go higher notes, you're going to blow just a little faster air, and you're going to tighten your lips up just a little teeny bit. The lips are not the important thing, really. It's really the airspeed that does most of it. Okay, so as you go up the scale, you're going to see there's 3 notes in a row there that have no change in your fingers at all. When you get to the high F is first valve again. Okay, so just watch my fingers carefully. The arpeggio can be a little tricky too. Now, if you're having trouble with some of these notes, remember, you really should sing them first. That's kind of the key. If you can't sing the scale, then you can't really play a scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 3, 5, 8, 7, 5, 4, 2, 1. You'll notice I'm not singing it really well. I'm not singing it like an opera singer, that's for sure. It doesn't matter what you sound like, really, as long as the pitch is right. That's what that's all about. And some of you, I'm sure, are much better singers than I am, okay? So for that one, what I would do is if you are having a lot of trouble when you get to those high notes, just play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then if you need to, you can just rest for the next couple of notes until we get back to where you can play again. So when we're playing in band, you could do something like this. And then as you gradually get rid of those high notes, you could add those back in too, okay? Same kind of thing on number 3. You could kind of skip those high notes for right now. Number 3 is a little bit of a finger twister, but the good thing for horns is when you get up high, you don't really use your fingers at all. So I would kind of call it a lip twister maybe, I guess, a little bit. Check out number 3. Yeah. Sorry about that. My fingers want to go to first finger for D because that's how you play it on trumpet. So I'm a little messed up there. It is a little different on French horn. And you can see also, especially in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th measures, there's a lot of notes where you just have no fingering at all, and you have to do all the work with your ear and your lips. Okay. What I would do if I were having trouble playing those high notes is I might start on like a high C. Say, for instance, the 5th note of number 2. Okay, just a high C. Once you get that C really well, you might want to practice going back and forth between the C and just the one note above that, the D. Until you get that really, really good so you can do it all the time. Then maybe add one more note and go C, D, E, like this. Obviously, you wouldn't go that fast at first. But once you get those 3 notes, then it's just a matter of putting the F up on top, and you get to use your finger for F. So. This is a pretty high note on the French horn, okay? So, like I said back at the beginning, if you can't get all this stuff right away at the very beginning, don't sweat it. It's not that big a deal. When we get to the 2nd scale and the 3rd scale, you're going to have it a lot easier. And then by the time we're into that, you'll be able to come back and do this again, I'm sure, too. By the way, there is one higher note in number 3, in the 1, 2, 3, 4th measure of number 3. You'll see that there is a high G there, too. That's higher than we played on number 2, okay? It is also no valves on the French horn. When you get up into that high range, an awful lot of the notes are no valves, and you have to do all the work with your lips. I'm sure you've been, experienced this as a French horn player too. You guys kind of have to use your ears and your lips more than just about any other brass player because they have more fingering changes or slide position changes than you do. just because of the nature of the horn. Now, the nature of the horn is also that it's a beautiful sounding instrument. So once you get really good at it, of course, it's a really nice thing. Okay? If you have any questions, just shoot me an email here. You know my email address, and I'll be glad to answer anything over the weekend or anything like that. Good luck with it. Thanks.